guys, it's Kayla and I'm back with another video. Today we are doing my October reading wrap up. I know this video is very late. I've been totally off my YouTube game this month, but I did still want to film this because I read a ton of great books in October and I want to talk about them. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Kayla. I'm a freelance social media manager for indie romance authors and this is my life here on YouTube. I also have a book talk and bookstagram if you want to follow me over there. I have a ton of books to talk about. I have a huge stack of books over here, so let's just get started and talk about my October reads. The first book I read was a prequel novella and it was Mine to Kiss by Natasha Madison. This is a prequel novella to her Southern Wedding series, which I ended up reading the rest of the series in November, but in October I did read the prequel novella. This is a good little intro to the series and it gives you a look at the first romance of Harlow and Travis, which are the main characters in the first book. Super quick and light read. It does not end in a happily ever after because they get their happily ever after at the end of book 1 in the series. Then I read Shattered Sea by Catherine Cowles. This is book 4 in her Tattered and Torn series, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. This book focuses on Laken and Bowden. Bowden is a famous movie star who is hiding out in their small town. Laken faces chronic pain and doesn't like being a burden on other people, so when Bowden hops in and wants to help, she really tries to push him away, but she's kind of forced to rely on Bowden, and Bowden is so determined to win her over. It is so cute. I highly recommend this book and this whole series. Next I read Fair Catch by Candy Steiner. This is the first book in her college football series, which normally I'm not a big college romance person, but I really love this series. So I started with book 1, Fair Catch. This is a brother's best friend, enemies, roommates to lovers romance. Riley is the first female football player on her college team and her brother's best friend Zeke is also on the team. She absolutely hates him and is determined to hate him forever until they're forced to be roommates because no one else will be roommates with her. So slowly they move into an enemies with benefits situation, but then they fall head over heels with each other. And this book is angsty, this book is emotional, this book is steamy. I highly recommend starting this series ASAP. Next I read an arc of For Your Eyes Only by Tia Louise. Tia Louise always delivers on the suspense and the spice, and she did not let me down in this one. Gia moves to the US to be a part of a ballet company, and when the ballet company goes under, she's kind of scrambling for work. So she takes a job as a stage dancer, kind of doing burlesque, and ends up moving to a cam girl situation as well. And she meets Trip, the broody bad boy billionaire who owns the club and the online site. She doesn't think he'll ever go for a girl like her. He's determined to stay away from her because she's his employee, but the tension just sparks between them and they can't resist. So steamy. I really enjoyed this one and I loved seeing this other side of Trip because you see him in her last few books and you really think he's such a bad guy, but in this one he really is redeemed and you see the behind the scenes of his character and how he truly is. Then I read Blindside by Candy Steiner. This is book 2 in her Red Zone Rivals series. This is a fake dating opposites attract romance. Clay and Gianna are both trying to get with other people and Clay has the grand idea that they should fake date so he can help teach her how to win over the guy and he can make his ex-girlfriend jealous. But quickly they realize they really like each other and they have a lot of chemistry. So this one's spicy, this one's angsty. As always with Candy Steiner, I really loved this book. Then I read Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in her Chestnut Spring series. This is a special edition cover from the last chapter. This was in our small town romance box. I'm absolutely obsessed with this cover and this book. Rhett is a professional bull rider who has caught himself in a little bit of hot water and Summer has been placed to be his PR rep and make sure he doesn't get into trouble for the summer, but instead they get into trouble with one another. This one is so spicy. I really love this book. It really is the perfect balance of steamy, funny, sweet. It's really got it all. I really love this book and I loved book 2 in the series too. I'll talk about in a little bit and I'm excited to read the rest of them as well when they come out. So highly recommend starting this series. Then I read Simply Mine by Laura Pavlov. This is book 4 of the Honey Mountain series, which is one of my favorite series of the entire year. It's based in my favorite place, Lake Tahoe, which I absolutely love, and the whole town, all the characters, it's just all so good. This book focuses on Charlotte and Ledger. Ledger is Charlotte's best friend's brother, and the two of them have always kind of tiptoed around each other. Charlotte is totally in love with Ledger, but Ledger doesn't think he's good enough for her. But when Ledger is back in town for his sister's wedding, he sees Charlotte in a totally new light, and he truly falls head over heels for her, and he is just so precious. The men in this series truly go so hard. I love them him so much. Everything about the series is just chef's kiss, and I'm really sad that it will be over next month with the final book of the series. Then I read Beneath the Stars by Emily McIntyre. This is her first book in her Sugar Lake series, which is her small town romance series. This book is about Alina and Chase, and it kind of goes from the time they're in high school through adulthood, which normally I don't like second chance romances that like take you through the whole story, but this one I did enjoy. You really get to see the buildup and the tension between them and where they went wrong and how they kind of worked it back together for their second chance. I do eventually want to read the rest of this series. I have to get back to it at some point, but book one was pretty good. Then I read Heartless by Elsie Silver. This book is probably in my top 3 for the entire year. It might be my top read of the entire year. This book was just absolutely phenomenal. Like, Flawless was good, but Heartless was just above and beyond. I loved it so much. I don't have enough words to describe how much I loved it. This is a grumpy sunshine, single dad nanny, age gap romance. Some of my all-time favorite tropes, so I went into it with high expectations and was truly blown away. Elsie Silver put some kind of magic in it. I don't know why, but I literally got like the giddy butterflies. I couldn't put it down. It was so good. Cade needs a nanny for the summer, and his future sister-in-law Summer finds her best friend Willow to kind of step in. They have such a great meet cute moment before they actually realize that Willow will be nannying for him for the summer. And once Cade realizes who she is, he's like determined to stay away from her, to not fall in love with her. That man falls, and he falls hard. He is absolutely weak for her. Willow is just such a great character. She has so many like different elements that I loved about her. And Cade Eaton truly has the dirtiest, filthiest, nastiest mouth on him, but it was just truly immaculate. I could talk about this book for days. I loved it that much. It is definitely one of my top reads of the year, probably my top read, like I said, and I just cannot recommend it enough. Please go pick up Flawless, please go pick up Heartless, and I'm so excited for the next book, Powerless. Next I read Fractured Sky by Catherine Cowles. This was the last book in her Tattered and Torn series, and definitely my favorite of the series. I feel like a lot of the series revolves around and kind of builds up to Shiloh's story, so I was so excited to finally get it, and it did not disappoint. Shiloh's been through a lot, and she really kind of keeps to herself and stays away from other people, but for some reason she's completely drawn to Ramsey, who is the horse whisperer and kind of town recluse. Ramsey doesn't let anyone close to him, especially on his property, but for some reason he's always let Shiloh kind of hang out, and when she comes up and talks to him one day, he offers a cabin on his house, even though he doesn't let outsiders in ever on his property, but for some reason he's drawn to her just as much as she's drawn to him. This one is so emotional. There's just so much development and growth between both of the characters. I really recommend this series, and I really love Fractured Sky, but I definitely would recommend reading the series in order. And I read Hating the Player by Rebecca Jenshock. This is also a college romance, but I did really like this one. I thought it was really cute. Violet hates Gavin's guts after she thinks he betrayed her last year, and they're kind of forced back to each other, and she tries to resist him, but he is persuasive because he's totally in love with her. He really wants a second chance with her, and he's willing to work for it. This one is super cute. It's a pretty quick read. I listened to the audio and I got through it like in a day. So if you want something quick, lighthearted, and a little bit steamy, definitely pick up the series because I really like it. Next I read an arc of King of Wrath by Anna Huang, and this book is so good. After loving the Twisted series so much, I feel like I went into this one with pretty high expectations, and it did meet my expectations and definitely surpassed it. This is an arranged marriage of convenience romance between Dante and Vivian. Dante is kind of forced into the arranged marriage, but Vivian doesn't know that, but she just hates Dante because he's a jerk to her. But slowly the man thaws for her, and he just becomes absolutely weak for her. I love when the broody billionaires just fall so hard for their women and like completely thaw for them. It's just so sweet. I will say like the first 70% of the book I did really enjoy, but I think the last 30% of it like put it over the top for me. Vivian made Dante grovel hard. He needed to grovel, and he groveled so well. Anna is just the queen of the grovel, and this book was just really good. Definitely pick it up. And I read That Secret Crush by Megan Quinn. This is book 3 in her Getting Lucky series. I read book 1 and 2 a while ago in like June, I think, and I finally went back to book 3, and I'm glad I did. This series is super cute, small town romance, and it's super funny as well. Book 3 is a brother's best friend romance. Eve has been in love with her older brother's best friend for as long as she can remember, but after her brother and him have had a falling out, they don't see each other as often, but when they're forced together once again, Eve Eve realizes her feelings have never really gone away, and she doesn't realize that Eric has feelings for her as well. Amy, super cute, absolutely hilarious. I highly recommend this series. They're pretty quick, lighthearted reads, which I really like. And I read Scoring Chance by Tegan Hunter. This is book 5 in her Carolina Comments series, and I really love this whole series. But Scoring Chance is probably one of my favorites, either that or Sinbin. And Scoring Chance is about Scout and Miller. Scout owns the donut truck that all of the hockey players frequent, and she's pretty reserved and quiet, but she has a total crush on Miller, who is the younger hockey player on the Carolina Comments, and he gives off total playboy vibes, but you find out that he still has his V card. And when Miller is a little bit of a jerk to Scout, he's determined to prove that he's not such a bad guy, and he falls head over heels for her. I feel like I've said that so many times in this video, but it's true. That man falls, and he falls hard. Highly recommend this book and this series. They are funny, they are cute, they are all the good vibes. I really, really love them. Then I read That Swoony Feeling by Megan Quinn. This is the last book in her Getting Lucky series, and this one just might be my favorite. It's so funny and so good. Ruth has had a crush on Brig for years, and Brig is totally oblivious to her and her crush. But the small town that they both live in is not oblivious, so they hatch a plot to make the two of them fall in love, and it totally works. It's so cute. I love town meddling romances, and this is definitely one of those. Then I read the next book in the Red Zone Rival series, Quarterback Sneak by Candy Steiner. This was easily one of my top books of the month and probably one of my top reads of the year. It was absolutely incredible. Holden Moore is determined to prove himself as QB1 to their new coach, but he takes one look at his coach's daughter and knows he's in trouble. Julep has been through a lot, and when her dad moves to a new school to coach, she goes along with him. She knows she's off limits to the team quarterback, but she cannot resist him, and Holden Moore is so determined to win her over. This book has so much depth and emotion, which you normally do not expect from like a college sports romance. Candy is just a phenomenal writer, and she writes characters with such depth. I loved this book so much. Holden and Julep are absolutely everything. Definitely one of my top reads of the year. So you really need to read this series, and you really need to read this book. Then I read Love Unexpected by QB Tyler. This is a very forbidden, slightly taboo romance, so don't pick it up if you're not going to be into it. Stasia has crushed on her stepdad for as long as she's known him, but knows he's off limits. And when her mom suddenly passes away, her and her stepdad Dominic are kind of left reeling, and they might just find a little bit of comfort in one another. Again, super forbidden, a little bit taboo, but oh my god, is it steamy. This was my first book from QB, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to read more of her backlist because I want all the forbidden steam in my life. Next, I read Afraid by Laura Pavlov. This is the first book in her Willow Spring series. This is a high school romance, a little bit more YA vibes, but I did still like it. I definitely don't like the series as much as her Honey Mountain series. It's just very different vibes, but it was still cute. I liked it. I did listen to it on audio versus eyeball reading it, so I feel like that helped, but it was cute. Definitely a different vibe than I normally read, but I'm not mad about it. If you like high school YA romance, I definitely think you'll like this one. Just very different vibes than I'm used to, but it was still pretty cute. My last book was a reread, and it is Mine for Yours by Harlow Ray. Yes, I literally read this in September, and I already did a reread, but I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to do a reread of it on audio. This is a double single parent romance, which I've been wanting to read for so long, and Harlow delivered for me. Riley moves back to her hometown after her brother passes away, and she meets her brother's best friend and business partner, who also happens to be a single dad. She's a single mom. You put them two together, and it's just so much goodness. This one's definitely angsty and emotional, but it has such funny moments as well, and the kids are so determined to push their parents together. It's super adorable. Definitely recommend this one if you love single parent and small town romance. It's also a standalone, so that's always nice as well. Those are all the books I read in October. I know this is late, but I just wanted to talk about all these books because I loved them so much. It was a really great reading month for me, and I couldn't resist talking about all these books. So I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it's late. If you want to see more book content from me, definitely check out my book talk and my bookstagram. I'm super active on both of those, and I'm gonna try my best to be back on my YouTube game now. So hopefully there will be new videos for me every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, but also give me grace while we're experiencing a little bit of burnout. This video is probably 9 years long, so enough talking from me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one.